The average price in 1989, now remember, 1989 was very much similar to what is this year. So, what it was is it's the crescendo of a marketplace. So the market was rising up really fast because in 1985, the average price was only 110,000. It was in 85, but by 91, the average price was 273. So you can see how the market sort of doubled itself in just a few short years, and then fell off a cliff. Now the marketplace was very different back then, but what we're going to do is we're just sort of talking about a crash versus a crash, right? This year is going to be our crash, which will go down in history as one of the more severe crashes that we've ever had, and it's really ramped up from last year. And so 1989, the average price was 273, and then in 1990 it dropped to 255, 91, 234, and it just kept dropping. And so, can anybody guess what year it took for us to get back up to $273,000? And remember, that was the average price in 1988. The reason why we're looking at this is because for the people who are saying that, what's going on now, by the summer it's going to be back, it's going to be okay. So we're just looking back at history to say, okay, well, what happened in history can repeat itself. So the guess would be 2002 was when it actually went back over what it was in 1989 to 2002. So in 1999 it was 228. So it still wasn't really back to normal, which would have been the 10-year mark. So we're talking about 12 years it took for the market to get back to where it was in 1989. And then in 2002 to today, well, you can see from 275 to over a million, the market has shot up, but that's a longer period of time. There's two things to be learned from there is that one, the market will fluctuate, it will go down, but it's also going to come back with a vengeance. So it is really important that you don't shy away and don't buy into the discussion that the market will, people will never be able to afford buying a home, because if you say that, then you're going to believe that, and then that unfortunately that is going to be your reality. So I would say, don't fall into that. The other thing is that you're just fortunate enough that I was around in 1989, and I was selling real estate then. And the other fortunate thing is I'm around now, and I was selling real estate now. And I can tell you that the two marketplaces are very, very different. Okay, in 1989, we were the real estate market was much more speculative than it was now. One of the big reasons for the sharp decline was that people weren't buying houses; they were just flipping them. And so there were more transactions of speculation, people buying agreements of purchase and sales than you can ever imagine. That was what kept us busy as realtors, were those transactions. And we didn't have any of that today, in today's market, in yesterday's market, in last year's market. We didn't experience any of that. So it's a little bit more of a natural marketplace. The bigger difference here is, and yes, interest rates were higher back then, and I understand that's a great argument. However,
I just want to kind of touch on a little bit, like, with what you're saying, because I was going to talk about today about the mortgage rates and how they've gone up, and how the cost of, I guess, owning a home has gone up as well. And I know before we've talked about how we kind of argue a little bit where I would say that that's a lot harder to buy a home now versus back in the day.
it is now.
But I think you were kind of saying it was harder back then because you have the higher interest rates, you were making less money, and there's a lot of different factors going on.
Yeah, so when I was saying that it was time specific, I was dealing with the marketplace that we were in, with the interest rates that we were in. And even though the prices were high, the interest rates were so low that the payments were more affordable.
Oh no,
and
sorry.
so you have and versus the income.
I'm talking more like a longer scale, like back, like because we started off the show talking about 1989, 19 like different years, and like I was saying like buying a home 15 years ago versus it's based on this because like
Right.
how much. Like to me, it's I personally I still think it's much harder now. Okay, so I'll let you finish. I'll kind of go into the numbers I have.
Yeah, and so it depends what point. See, you can pick different points in history, and then the comparison says, yeah, it was harder to buy then. Right now is the hardest time in history. Right now, it beats 1989. It is less affordable now than it was at any point in history of the Toronto Real Estate Board. So the discussion that we had before actually doesn't even apply now because the environment is different. But at that time, what I was comparing it to was when I was in the business and we were attempting to buy real estate. It was really not affordable, but at what we were experiencing with 0.25% rates, government Bank of Canada rates, it was actually expensive prices, but it was affordable to buy the homes relative to your income. But today, it is not affordable to buy homes. The Bank of Canada has made it not affordable. Which brings me to
I think what it's done, like the way I look at it, is like you choose a house or have a life. Because honestly, you buy in this market, unless you got your plentiful, you're giving up a lot of stuff to get a house now.
Yeah. And my argument would be, you buy the house to have a life. Like, unfortunately, because, that whole thing that we started with many moons ago, that cocooning is going to be the big thing. Remember? So we would buy the in-house theater and all that stuff because we were moving the theater stations to our homes. So we're cocooning, we're bringing all the money into our home and making our home the destination to go to. Right? And we were very much like that. We had, all the big toys for the kids, the 12-foot bouncy castles and all that stuff. We made our house the place to go.
Well, it was a lot easier to watch them in the backyard than it was to take them out where there was a crowd of kids jumping around.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. And please let us know your thoughts in the comments, as well as any questions you may have. We're live most Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to tune in. If you're interested in learning more about real estate, click the link in the description to sign up, and we'll send you a series of educational videos all about real estate. Thank you again for watching, and remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all our future uploads.